Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in to Aaron Meets World once again. Today I'm going to be going over my top 10 games that I'm most excited about from E3. Originally I was just going to do top 5, but then I realized there were way too many games that I was excited about this year. So first, before I get into that, I do want to mention a few honorable mentions. First of all, Banjo joining Super Smash Bros. Banjo and Kazooie. Really excited about that. I actually haven't played Super Smash Bros. Ultimate in quite a few months, but I think this will be enough to pull me back in for a little bit and probably end up getting the Fighter's Pass now. Joker wasn't quite enough for that. The Dragon Quest Hero wasn't quite enough for that, but I will probably do it for Banjo and Kazooie. Secondly, Dragon Quest XI, Something of an Elusive Age. Forgetting the name of the subtitle for that, but Dragon Quest XI coming to Switch. Oh, Echoes of an Elusive Age. Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of an Elusive Age. I haven't played really any of the Dragon Quest games before, but I'm looking forward to play this one. It looks really cool, and I've been waiting for the Switch version to come out to play it. So I'm looking forward to playing that, I believe in September. And then, of course, Super Mario Maker 2, which I'll have in like 2 weeks, I think. And we'll probably even put some gameplay of that up. So without further ado, I will get into my top 10. Number 10 being LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. Which I actually really loved the original LEGO Star Wars games, and especially hearing that they're going to be completely revamping all the content from episodes 1 through 6. That's what I'm excited to see. New levels from the ground up for the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. I'm not so excited at this point about anything from the sequel trilogy. Maybe that'll change after The Rise of Skywalker, we'll see. But I'm really excited to see the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy done with a lot of the upgrades that have made it into more recent LEGO games. The next game on my list, number 9, is actually The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening for the Switch. I really love the art style they're doing with that, and I really loved that game originally. The dungeon builder add-on looks like it could be cool. I don't know how much time I'd actually spend on that though, but it looks like it'd be cool, and I'm looking forward to playing that game. Not as much as if it were a 3D Zelda or even a different Zelda remake. I was actually really hoping that we'd get news of Wind Waker HD or Twilight Princess HD being ported over to the Switch, which I'm sure will happen at some point, but they're not quite ready for that yet. But I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to this. Next on the list is Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm a little worried about this game because I don't know how good it will end up turning out, but honestly, after the last 10 years, there not being any console Marvel games aside from Spider-Man that were really worth anything, aside from some LEGO titles. I've felt pretty Marvel starved when it's come to console video games, so I am very much looking forward to this game, and looking forward to playing as a lot of my favorite characters. Also, with the season pass being announced, I think that's pretty exciting, especially for people that really love the X-Men, really love Fantastic Four. I believe Marvel Knights was also mentioned on that expansion pass. All of my favorite characters are pretty much already in the base game, although I have not seen Ant-Man yet. And I don't think I've seen Winter Soldier, so I'm really hoping those two are in there. Aside from that, I think all of my favorite characters have made the game. So I'm really excited to play that game in just about a month. Next on the list is Luigi's Mansion 3, which was my number 7 pick. And I loved the original Luigi's Mansion. I had only rented it from Blockbuster Video or whatever it was at the time. back when the GameCube came out. I never actually purchased it, but it was a really cool game. It was just short. When the 3DS version came out, I really liked that game as well, but not so much the episodic nature of it with the short missions and repeatedly going into the same mansions over and over again. And it looks like we're not going to have that. It looks like everything's going to be kept fresh with the different themes on different floors of the hotel that Luigi's staying in. So I'm excited for that. The game looks really beautiful. I've always liked the design sense behind the Luigi's Mansion games, so I'm looking forward to seeing what this actually turns out to be. It looks like it's going to be a much meatier game than what we've had with either of the previous two entries. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one as well. Very high on my list and definitely going to be a day one purchase. All right, the next game on my list, number 6, is Animal Crossing New Horizons. I know a lot of people are disappointed that this has been delayed until next year. What was it? I think May of next year. But I'm not too worried about it. I am really excited to play this game, and I know I'll get really into it when it comes out. But I'm okay waiting for it. There are a lot of games coming out between now and then that I'm excited to play, and I'm usually pretty limited on how much time I can play these days anyway. But there's plenty of other stuff to play, as just going down this list is showing me. But I really like the enhanced crafting elements and the idea that you're kind of building up the town from scratch on the deserted island. So it's going to be a cool change of pace. I know most of what you're going to be doing in the game is going to be pretty similar to what was there before, but it's still going to be a nice change from what was there before. So I'm excited for that game. I think it looks great, and I think it's going to play great. So even though it's coming next year, I'm not disappointed. I'm just happy that they're doing a few new things with it. And so when it does finally arrive, it's going to be awesome. So my number 5, and one of my top favorite franchises of all time, Pokemon Sword and Shield. I'm really excited for these games. I really like that they seem to be going with a little bit more of an open world, and especially with the way the camera sits more behind the player, it seems much more modern. So I do feel like this is the jump that Pokemon players have been waiting for in terms of the style of the game and making it feel more like a console game. I don't really care very much for I'm forgetting the name of it right now, but the giant Pokemon mechanic. I don't really care for that, but I love the enhanced graphics. I love the new point of view, and the more open world type dynamic with it looks like it's going to be cool if that's what it actually is. So I'm excited to see what these games end up being. My number 4 is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I think this game looks really good. I wasn't a huge fan of the Force Unleashed games. I felt like those were clunky, and I don't think this is going to be the same thing. I still feel like it might be a little early to tell, but early reports in from people who have played the demo seem to really like it, have said it's really fluid, kind of reminds them of a cross between Dark Souls and I think they said Wind Waker. So that definitely got my attention. And we haven't had a good single-player Star Wars game in quite a while. Certainly not one that hasn't been Lego. So once again, I'm excited to see what this ends up being. I haven't warmed up to the actual main character yet. He isn't exactly what I would hope for, but then again, I really just honestly want a really good Luke Skywalker game to follow the original trilogy and maybe a little bit in between and beyond with RPG mechanics. That's what I've been wanting for a long time. Although I'd also happily settle for an Anakin Skywalker game as well. But if they're not going to go with any of the main characters for a full-fledged game, this still looks like it's going to be cool. I like that it takes place in between episodes 3 and 4. So the story is going to probably be pretty cool. So I'm excited to see what this ends up being, and it's coming out before the end of the year. So great. We won't have to wait too long. The next game on my list that I'm excited for is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel. I wasn't expecting this, but I'm also not surprised by it. With all of the work that went into creating Breath of the Wild, I'm not shocked that they've decided to reuse the assets to create a new game. I'm hoping this ends up being a more focused and story-driven experience, which at this point, how could you tell? The trailer kind of alludes to it, but really, how could you tell at this point? But I loved the open world aspects, but I agree with people after the hype kind of wore off that I do miss traditional dungeons, and I wouldn't be opposed to a little bit more of a linear experience that could tighten up the story, especially if they're going in a darker direction, having that be more focused, kind of like a Majora's Mask to your Ocarina of Time. I'd be excited for that. But I know it's going to be good no matter what they end up doing, so I'm excited to see what that is. I wouldn't be shocked if this ended up being a holiday 2020 title, but who knows? It could end up being sometime in 2021, which would be perfectly fine, although as of right now, I don't know what Nintendo's 2020 really looks like, aside from Animal Crossing. I don't think we're going to end up seeing Metroid Prime 4 until 2021 at least. So actually 2020 is kind of looking a little light for Nintendo, but not necessarily light for me. The next game on my list, my number 2, is the Avengers game from Square-Enix and I think Crystal Dynamics and a whole slew of other people. Since we haven't been able to see any actual gameplay yet, or at least aside from a few split seconds in the story trailer, I don't really know what this game is yet. I'm a little nervous that my favorite character, Captain America, was killed off in the beginning of the game, although I'm sure they're going to undo that because there's a ton of people who would want to play as Captain America, and that would seem kind of a shame and counterintuitive if that was the case. But I still don't really know what this game is. There's contradicting reports. It sounds like there's a single player focused element of it, and then there's also multiplayer elements. There's going to be characters dropped from month to month, or whatever that time period ends up being, that add extra Avengers as time goes on. Again, I'm not really sure what this game is yet, but I've been Marvel starved and I'm excited for a true AAA title, and if they end up adding a lot of good characters to it and get the gameplay right, it's going to be awesome, and hopefully, if not quite what we were waiting for, at least really scratch that itch, so we aren't so Marvel starved for a good AAA Marvel game, aside from Spider-Man. And now we're to my number 1, which I'm sure is no surprise, the Final Fantasy VII Remake. This was the part of E3 that I was most excited to see, but even with that, I didn't really go in with any expectations, and it blew me away. I really love what they're doing with the battle system. I had a feeling that they weren't going to go with a traditional turn-based system, and I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't really sure what to expect, but I love that they kind of worked in some of the turn-based stuff into their current action RPG system. I think the graphics look great. The voice acting that we've heard sounds really good, and it sounds like they've gotten some better voice actors than what we got with things like Crisis Core and some of the other stuff we've had from the compilation of Final Fantasy VII in the past. I was really surprised when I looked at the voice list that Steve Burton is not reprising his role as Cloud, but the person they got sounds a lot like him, so I didn't realize it wasn't him until I actually looked at the voice cast. So I kind of wish it was still Steve Burton, but if there was some reason he just couldn't do it, then fine. This guy sounds like he's doing a good job as Cloud, and I'm just really excited to see where this goes. It's not entirely clear at this point how they're dividing up the game. It sounds like, from what they've said, we're getting 2 Blu-rays worth of content for the first installment, which is focused on Midgar, and if that's the case, then Midgar is going to be giant. I've seen a lot of comments about people complaining that it's going to be a really short game if it's just through Midgar, but what they've said is they've expanded the content for each of the releases they're going to do around the Final Fantasy VII Remake to fill an entire game's worth of content. So we're probably looking at between 20 and 30 hours for this first release, and it could end up being a lot more than that, knowing what Square-Enix tends to think is a full game's worth of content. It would be amazing if we ended up getting a 60-hour game just with this first installment, but that could happen. I'm hoping for between 20 and 30, and I'd probably be happy. I hope there's a lot of good side quests, and it sounds like that's probably the road they're going, is expanding all of the in-between stuff and with side characters. It would be cool if some of the characters that didn't join your party in the past as main characters do maybe for just this installment, like Biggs and Wedge, Jesse, and some of those other side characters, which, by the end of the game they'd drop out of your party because you'd be getting ready to leave Midgar and jumping off the bridge and out into the overworld, and assumedly that's how the game's going to end, or somewhere around that point. But it'd be cool to get a little bit more focus and even some gameplay with some of those other characters and get to know them a little bit better, and get a little bit more focused on the characters and world of Final Fantasy VII, which it seems like that's what they're going to do. And then I'm really excited to see what happens from there. I think all of the characters look great. I was really excited to see Tifa finally shown off and her gameplay, and I recognized some of her moves from some of her old Limit Breaks, like the dolphin kick. I believe I saw that in the trailer somewhere in there. I think this looks great. Its original announcement, I think back in 2015, is what made me go out and buy my PS4 originally. So it's nice to see this finally come out, and it's going to be worth the wait. I can tell it's going to be worth the wait, and I'm just really excited for that. I'm excited for all of these games. Right now I'm more focused on thinking about Mario Maker 2 and Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, because those are the games coming soonest. But I'm really looking forward to all of these. I think we're really lucky to have this many good games coming in the next year and a half. Some of the last few years, there were a lot of dry spells. It feels like a lot of games that we've been waiting a long time for are going to be kind of coalescing all at once in late 2019, early 2020, and I'm sure it'll just keep going from there, because it's only a matter of time before that Metroid Prime 4 announcement ends up coming. Anyways, thank you for watching. As always, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Let me know what games from E3 you are most excited for, or even if they didn't really focus on them, like maybe Fire Emblem Three Houses, which I'm probably getting, I am excited for, but didn't make this list. Let me know in the comments what you're excited for, and also let me know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future. I know from some of my old videos, some of the ones that performed really well were more like comic book focused, and I'm definitely planning some content around some comics in the future. Got some Hot Toys that are probably coming soon. I just saw that The Hot Toys Darth Maul is being released early in Hong Kong, so I'm probably going to have to place my pre-order soon on that. And oh, I also want to mention that I am planning a trip to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland in early August. So I am planning on buying a crap ton of stuff from there, and we'll probably be having several videos worth of content around some of the souvenirs I'm going to be picking up. I'm definitely planning on doing the build your own lightsaber experience. I'm planning on picking up at least a few legacy lightsabers, some Jedi robes, and probably several other things. I'm planning on spending a pretty penny on this trip, which I'm really excited for. It's for me and my wife's 4-year wedding anniversary. So I'm really looking forward to that. So anyways, there's actually a lot of content in the pipeline just from things I'm going to be doing that are exciting that you can stay tuned for, that will be coming. So again, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. All right, have a good night.